Being recorded.
Just all right. Okay.
The recording has started.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the OAHSPE conference call. It's July 15th, 2026. The time is 8:41 p.m. This is the 302nd OAHSPE conference call. And Candace has agreed to one of the great spirits. Or yours, Candace.
O Almighty Jehovah, bless this evening of fellowship throughout North America. Bring your angels to us. Bring those that need to learn from us and need to listen to what we're discussing this evening. Bless each and every one of us that are here in our OAHSPE movement or around the world who especially love OAHSPE. And may this be a blessing to all, seen and unseen. So be it. Amen.
So be it. Thank you. Okay, we are going to, if time permits and time should permit, we are going to wrap up. We should wrap up Spiritual Grades and Good Works essay, part 3. We are almost at the tail end of part 2. Hold on, I gotta check here. Let me see. And just so folks can know that thanks to Yakwa, it's being recorded live on YouTube. Thank you, Yakwa. We left off with on page 13, and we did read The Kingdom Within. I think, let me see, Jane, do you have, are you open to the page that has The Kingdom Within?
I can just look back up there. I know we're about to do the truth and body part, but yes, I've got that Kingdom Within right in front of me now.
Yeah, let's go over. Why don't you read that straight through and just as a refresh. It's a little bit long, but I think it's a very important piece of understanding about kingdoms. Not supposed to kingdoms being external, but it's really an internal process, so that when it manifests externally, it's solid. If your internal is solid. So.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah, it's all yours, James.
Okay. The title is, or this section, The Kingdom Within, the purpose of spiritual grades. To appreciate the importance of spiritual grades, we must first understand one of the most profound teachings in OAHSPE. Unlike many religious traditions that emphasize the establishment of God's kingdom as an external event, a future government, a political order, or a visible religious institution, OAHSPE begins with a different premise. The kingdom of Jehovah is first established within the individual. Only afterward can it be expressed in families, communities, nations, and eventually in the higher heavenly societies. This distinction is fundamental because it transforms our understanding of religion itself. The primary work of a faithist is not to change the external world first. Rather, it is to participate in the gradual construction of the Creator's kingdom within the soul. Every victory over selfishness, every act of compassion, every honest acknowledgement of weakness, every expression of truth, and every unselfish service contributes to the quiet building of that inward kingdom. For this reason, spiritual grace occupies such a central place within OAHSPE. They are not merely classifications assigned to souls after death, nor are they honorary distinctions bestowed by heavenly administrators. They are living measures of the extent to which the kingdom of Jehovah has become established within an individual. They reveal the actual condition of the soul rather than its public reputation, religious affiliation, or outward accomplishments. This understanding also explains why spiritual grace cannot be separated from good works. The two exist in a relationship of continual reciprocity. Character gives rise to good works, while good works continually refine character. One cannot exist authentically without the other. They belong together by their very nature.
Just a second.
Perhaps in, okay.
Yakla asked if folks are comfortable, can you put on your cam because it's a live recording, so if you don't mind doing video.
Okay.
Great. For people.
Let's see. Okay. Let's get on. Okay, now I get back. Oh, is my cam still on?
It's still on, it's fuzzy, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'll get back into the email. Okay. Ah, right. Put that down. Oops, that's wrong. So, I have my voice. Oh, let's see now. Okay, yes, I've got it's the kingdom within section. Okay, where did I end it?
Perhaps in
Oh, I got, okay, thank you. Perhaps an analogy will help illustrate this relationship. Wetness cannot be separated from water. Heat cannot be separated from fire. Light cannot be separated from the sun. Likewise, authentic good works cannot be separated from genuine spiritual development. Wherever higher spiritual grades are present, compassionate service naturally follows. Wherever compassionate service is faithfully practiced with sincerity and wisdom, the soul itself is gradually elevated. Spiritual grades and good works are therefore not parallel paths. They are two expressions of the same inward reality. This principle distinguishes OAHSPE from religious systems that separate faith from conduct or belief from character. OAHSPE consistently reunites them. What a person believes certainly influences how that person lives, yet belief alone does not establish spiritual grade. Rather, spiritual grade reflects the degree to which truth has become embodied in daily life. Truth ceases to be merely an idea and becomes character. Character becomes conduct. Conduct gradually becomes a habit. Habit shapes destiny. Thus, the kingdom of Jehovah advances one decision, one relationship, and one act of service at a time. This inward understanding of the kingdom also helps explain why OAHSPE devotes so much attention to resurrection. Resurrection is not simply a movement from one heavenly plateau to another after death. It is the continual raising of consciousness throughout life itself. Every time selfishness gives way to compassion, resurrection has occurred. Every time prejudice yields to understanding, resurrection has occurred. Every time forgiveness triumphs over resentment, resurrection has occurred. The soul is continually rising because the kingdom within is continually expanding. Seen in this light, resurrection is not an isolated event, but an enduring process. It begins long before physical death and continues throughout eternity. Spiritual grace simply provides the language by which OAHSPE describes that ongoing process of becoming. They remind us that spiritual life is dynamic rather than static, developmental rather than judicial, and transformational rather than merely ceremonial. This perspective also sheds light upon the purpose of intentional community. Communities do not create spiritual grace. Individuals cultivate them. Yet when individuals whose inner lives are increasingly governed by wisdom, compassion, integrity, and cooperation join together, they naturally create communities that reflect those same qualities. The outward community becomes a visible expression of the inward kingdom already established within its members. In this sense, society itself becomes the fruit of spiritual development rather than its substitute. For Phaedrus, this insight carries profound practical consequences. The transformation of civilization does not begin in legislatures, political movements, or institutional power. It begins quietly within individual souls. As each person becomes increasingly aligned with the sacred presence of Jehovah, that inward harmony gradually radiates outward into families, neighborhoods, congregations, intentional communities, and ultimately the nations of the earth. Lasting social transformation therefore proceeds from the inside outward rather than from the outside inward. Perhaps this is why OAHSPE places so little emphasis upon converting the world through arguments alone. Ideas certainly matter, but ideas become transformative only when they are embodied in lives of integrity. The kingdom of Jehovah is not advanced primarily through persuasion, but through becoming. Truth acquires its greatest persuasive power when it is lived, rather than merely proclaimed. This realization brings us naturally to another important question. If spiritual grace reveals the inward condition of the soul, how does the Creator distinguish between genuine inward transformation and the outward appearance of spirituality? Human beings often admire visible accomplishments while overlooking hidden motives. The Creator, however, perceives something entirely different. The next step in our discussion, therefore, leads us to one of the most searching concepts in OAHSPE, the distinction between spiritual performance and authentic spiritual becoming.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I just wanted saying, just to have a review of this particular, it's not even a concept, it's really a principle in your last speech. And it's rarely discussed, you can't even And so as we move forward, and as we move forward with part 3, this will become really relevant. That's why I think there's feedback coming from you. I know that's going to be a problem. So, can I get a reader for the next section if there's no question? Truth embodied. Anyone?
I'm willing, but if anybody else would like to, that's fine too.
If it's part 3, I've got it also.
It's not part 3, it's still part 2, truth embodied.
Oh, I don't have that. Okay.
Okay. This is
I can continue.
okay, go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Truth embodied. Character as the measure of spiritual grades. Quote, I labor not so much to convert adults as to prepare the minds of the young. That's OAHSPE, Book of Judgment, chapter 38, verse 2. If the kingdom of Jehovah is first established within the individual, then truth itself must become something more than correct doctrine. It must become a living character. This is one of the most beautiful and demanding teachings found throughout OAHSPE. Truth is not merely something to be believed, it is something to be embodied. Many religious traditions understandably devote great attention to orthodoxy, holding correct beliefs concerning God, salvation, scripture, or worship. OAHSPE certainly values truth, yet it consistently asks a deeper question. Has truth entered life? Has it transformed the individual? Has it become visible through one's character? This distinction moves spirituality from the realm of intellectual agreement into the realm of personal transformation. Knowledge alone cannot establish spiritual grace. Neither can eloquent speech, impressive scholarship, or theological precision. These may certainly contribute to spiritual growth, but they're never substitutes for it. Truth reaches its highest expression only when it becomes part of the person's very nature. For this reason, spiritual grades are inseparable from character. Character is not what we occasionally display under favorable circumstances. Character is what remains when recognition disappears, when no applause is offered, and when no one is watching. It reveals the habits that have become woven into the very fabric of the soul. One might say that beliefs occupy the mind, while character occupies the person. Beliefs may change quickly through reading, discussion, or persuasion. Character develops much more slowly. It is formed through thousands of repeated choices, faithfully made over many years. Every truthful decision strengthens truthfulness. Every compassionate response strengthens compassion. Every act of patience strengthens patience itself. In time, these repeated choices no longer require conscious effort because they have become part of who we are. This gradual formation of character explains why OAHSPE places such emphasis upon continual spiritual growth. The Creator is not merely interested in isolated acts of goodness. The Creator seeks the development of souls whose very nature increasingly reflects wisdom, compassion, cooperation, and love. In this sense, character becomes the visible evidence that the kingdom of Jehovah has taken root within. Here we encounter another profound distinction. Human society often rewards achievement. The Creator cultivates becoming. And in blue it's written, achievement measures what has been accomplished. Becoming measures what has been transformed. These two are not always identical. A person may accomplish remarkable things while remaining inwardly dominated by pride or ambition. Another individual whose life receives little public recognition may quietly develop extraordinary compassion, humility, and wisdom. From society's perspective, the first may appear greater. From the perspective of spiritual grades, the second may already dwell in a much higher atmosphere of the soul. This understanding should never discourage achievement. On the contrary, OAHSPE encourages productive lives of service. The difference lies in the order of priorities. Achievement becomes the fruit of character rather than its substitute. Service becomes the expression of love rather than the pursuit of reputation. Leadership becomes stewardship rather than domination. Influence becomes responsibility rather than privilege. Perhaps this is why OAHSPE repeatedly directs our attention towards simple acts of faithful service. A quiet kindness offered without recognition may contribute more to the development of the soul than a celebrated accomplishment performed primarily for admiration. The Creator measures reality that human beings seldom perceive. One of the recurring themes throughout this discussion may now be expressed in a single observation. Twin bold says, spiritual grades are not measured by what we accomplish. They are measured by what our accomplishments reveal that we have become. End of the bold. This distinction reaches far beyond individual morality. It becomes the foundation upon which communities themselves are built. Every family, every congregation, every intentional community, every nation, and every heavenly society ultimately reflects the collective character of the individuals who compose it. The institutions do not create virtue independently of the people who inhabit them. Rather, institutions gradually assume the moral quality of those who lead and sustain them. For faithists, this insight carries enormous significance. The future of a congregation is not determined primarily by the beauty of its buildings, the eloquence of the sermon, or even the correctness of its doctrine. Its future depends upon the spiritual grade of the people who constitute it. Communities rise or decline in direct relationship to the inward lives of their members. This principle also explains why OAHSPE repeatedly calls upon its followers to examine themselves before attempting to reform the world. Social transformation remains essential, but lasting reform always begins with personal transformation. The kingdom that has not been established within cannot long endure when imposed from without. Here we discover another beautiful harmony within OAHSPE. Truth, character, spiritual grades, and good works are not separate teachings placed beside one another. They form a single living reality. Truth becomes character. And in blue it says, character gives rise to good works. Good works strengthen character. Character determines spiritual grades. That's the end of the blue writing. Spiritual grades reveal the extent to which the kingdom of Jehovah has been established within the soul. Each depends on the others. None stands alone. Perhaps this is why the Creator's work proceeds so patiently across generations. Civilization itself cannot permanently rise above the character of the people who compose it. If humanity desires higher civilizations, it must first cultivate higher souls. If it desires more compassionate societies, it must first cultivate more compassionate individuals. The outward world will ultimately reflect the inward kingdom. It is precisely here that OAHSPE introduces one of its most remarkable conclusions. If the future of civilization depends upon the spiritual formation of human beings, where should our greatest efforts be directed? Toward changing adults whose habits are already deeply established? Or towards preparing future generations whose character is still being formed? The answer recurs throughout OAHSPE and leads us to what may be the highest expression of spiritual grades and good works. It directs our attention not first toward institutions or governments, but toward children, from preparing the minds, character, and capacities of the young. We participate most directly in the Creator's continuing work of building the kingdom within future generations. And then there's the conclusion. Did you want me to continue?
Okay, so that, sure.
Okay. Conclusion. Throughout OAHSPE, Jehovah repeatedly calls his followers away from religious performance and toward the preparation of future generations. This calling is not accidental. It reflects the Creator's method of building higher civilizations. The kingdom is first established within individual souls through continual becoming. Spiritual grades measure that inward development. Good works express that development through compassionate service. As transformed individuals unite in families, congregations, intentional communities, and heavenly societies, the kingdom within gradually becomes the civilization they create. For this reason, OAHSPE continually returns to children. To prepare the minds of the young is not merely an act of kindness. It is one of the highest expressions of spiritual grades and good works because it participates directly in Jehovah's continuing work of resurrection. The rescued become the rescuers. The students become the teachers. Each generation becomes responsible for raising the next. In this way, the kingdom within becomes the society we create. And through that society, the Creator's work continues from generation to generation, both on earth and throughout the higher heavens. And then in red ink it says, the Creator builds higher civilizations by transforming individual souls. And the highest expression of that transformation is found in communities that intentionally prepare future generations to become compassionate servants of all life. in blue ink it says, that they shall be willing and capable of rescuing others as they were rescued. OAHSPE Book of Judgment, chapter 28, verse 11.
Okay, excellent reading.
Thank
Or I like your inflections. It really brings home certain key points. Even having written and had help with AI and going over it, going back and forth for hours on end. Even I had to mark off certain sections that gives deeper insight. And I hope those who have a copy can do the same. Before we jump into part 3, which part 3 is, we're not going to read part 3. What I'm going to do is have an opportunity to, well, I will read each section or have somebody read it, and then we're going to go around the screen, and whoever wants to respond to these points or to each number regarding the statements, then they have an opportunity. We want to have some input and some reflection from the members who are on the call. But before we do that, as I said, are there any questions or points of clarification that is needed or comments about spiritual grades and good works?
I think the whole thing holds together just so well. Right now I'm imagining a cake. All the ingredients held together and it's just delicious.
That's a nice analogy.
And I'm vegan, so I better be a vegan cake.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments? There's a lot here.
Yeah, I think it's very correct and explanatory. I think it pretty much, what it says is very, at least to me, it just makes so much sense. Like James say, I don't know if it's really needs any comment. I think it's direct to the point, and it makes a profound point and makes it very well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, well, if anybody has a comment, so I'm just free to jump on in. This is part 3 of the spiritual grades and good works. I just read.
Glenn,
Yes.
I would just, my comment so far is that I think that all faiths would serve us, it would serve the community for all of us to look into and learn from Robert K. Greenleaf. And he has a website, greenleaf.org, and he was the first to coin the phrase servant leadership. And I think that as faithists, that's a really important part of what we do, is that we serve the planet and we serve our community and, we serve creation. But just like Peter is saying in this essay, so there's, that message about service is certainly out there, it's getting to the broader world as well.
And they
So
are,
that's good. Thank you.
I would just like to make a correction. This is,
Hold it for a second. Just a second, Peter. First of all, I think so that's why they can cut off, although because we have a new person coming on board. So Celeste, will you finish?
if I could,
Select.
I was finished.
I think let's have, this is being, shared live. So people may not get the right spelling. So what is the correct spelling of the site that you think that you recommend faiths to go to, which I just followed through on what you suggested to now early on. So,
Yeah.
So what's the correct spelling?
Yeah, so The scholar, or author I'm talking about is Robert K. Greenleaf, and the website is greenleaf.org, and that's GREENLEAF. And Greenleaf is, he's a philosopher, and he comes from a Quaker background, and he brought some of the ideas of being a Quaker into his philosophy and his leadership in the business world. And this idea of servant leadership, it's become kind of, what's the word? Trendy, maybe is the word. And I think that when you're looking at servant leadership in the kind of the trendy atmosphere of, that's out there, not all of it is good servant leadership. Because there are some courses on becoming a servant leader, and it's kind of, it's not really about what Greenleaf talked about. So, his website and his original book, Servant Leadership, is a really great place to start
Okay,
with that echoing of faithist philosophy. Thank you.
tell me the spelling once again, because I have it, I may have misspelled it.
So it's green, like the color,
Uh-huh.
and leaf, like the thing that falls off the tree, and it's one word, GREENLEAF.
.org.
Yes.
Yeah, I had it. I didn't have the right spelling. Okay, I did go to the website for those interested. It's the Center for Servant Leadership. So it's easy to find. Good stuff. Thank you. So that's real. Hey, Peter, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe the essay about grades is your essay, not particularly my essay. So I want to make that, because Joy was giving me credit for something that's really Glenn's work.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. We have Watch Finley. Finley, can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Finley Arnold. I've been a Catholic for 22 years.
Okay.
Hello.
And he went off. No, he's. Anybody recommend him to join us? Okay.
Well, I have recommended one or two people, but I don't exactly even remember who they were.
Okay. All right. Well, he may come back on. In the chat, it was the organization Greenleaf has been posted. So if anybody has access to the chat, you can see it right there. Okay. Without any further ado, let's go into part 3, because I would like to finish this up, because we're going to be moving into some heavy duty stuff over the next few weeks. Really heavy. So in part 3 of spiritual grades and good works, we almost finished with part 2 of spiritual grades and good works. We really almost finished with, it was part 2. Part 3, which time should allow, is designed to provide members to share their points of view on this subject as it relates to the creative OAHSPE and essays. Please distribute to the group. And thanks. That was my email to Michael. Okay. The aim of these questions is to encourage you to think about how these principles influence daily life. For instance, what Celestial has mentioned, serving leadership, and service, and share them as a group. You're not sharing with me, you want to share them with everybody else. including me, of course, but not to me. Here are 6 questions that build on part 1 and 2 of the Spiritual Grades and Good Works essay. Candace, would you mind reading the first question or the first statement?
Based on what you have read and reflected upon in parts 1 and 2, what do spiritual grades and good works mean to you personally? How has your understanding changed or deepened? Please try to tie your answers to OAHSPE and the scope of 2 essays.
Okay, I'm gonna go around the screen here real quickly to get about, just to reflect on short statements. Let's start with William. Any comment?
Well, I never gave it a thought until I joined OAHSPE. I always felt that at the end of life, I would go to a certain place and there I'll be rewarded or punished, whatever the case may be. But the whole idea of becoming and doing good works and advancing gradually is something new to me. It's something I'm reflecting on day to day. Your day-to-day activities is what advances you in grade. And your intentions, as opposed to your intentions, what am I trying to say? The intention behind the good work. I was really impressed by the part that spoke about how you can get lost in doing good works or preaching good works and become addicted to the applause and the self-adulation that you get from doing that. And then that negates the works that you're trying to do. So it's been a lot for me to think about in just the 2 weeks, just a few months that I've been a part of this. But to me, it means a gradual day-to-day examining of what I've done that day, as opposed to waiting until the end.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, let's go to Daniel.
Did you say to Damien?
216.
Oh, okay.
No comment.
Okay.
No comment. That's what's new.
Okay, let's go to Candace.
Okay. Of course, I've been involved since January 1st, 1975, when, right after I finished reading all of the OAHSPE the first time. And I have felt like that I kind of pledged to do some good works every single day, to try to help somebody every day. For example, when I told one of my children, be sure and smile and hug someone today, make their day feel better. And I thought that my encouragement to my daughter when she was really young to also have a good character would help both of us. After the internet came along, then I have a file in the computer about thank yous from people I helped, and sometimes copies of emails or something that I've done to help someone. Today I got compliments from people for trying to help with the data center that were told to me privately and posted on our thread. Years ago, I don't know, in the late 80s, I was beginning to feel worn out. We had a lot of OAHSPEians visit our place, and some of them had good character and surprisingly some didn't. But anyway, I have tried to discourage people from saying thank you. Part of because of some of this that's been quoted tonight, and I was beginning to feel worn out. So I haven't discouraged people for thanking me anymore, and I think that it's fine. Do your good works, and if someone wants to thank you, say you're welcome.
Yeah, in a way, Candace, it's a gift. So if someone wants to give you a gift, as long as it doesn't go to your head, doesn't go to our head, it's saying we really appreciate that you noticed. You know, everybody needs a little feeling good. You know,
Especially a worn out mother or grandmother. That's my comment right now.
Well, thank you. Peter, you're next up? Good timing.
Well, the OAHSPE to me is a precious find. And much of my life has led me to that. And the idea of living the golden rule was early instilled on me by my parents. My father said very, very plainly to me once, and they never taught me any or brought me to any religious denomination. My father said, God's everywhere, live the golden rule and the 10 commandments and you got it. And to be present basically to be present for other people, make life a little bit better. And all my experiences and studies in metaphysics that came after that general kind of understanding led me to the OAHSPE, which was like, so an acquaintance of mine came over with it. And it was 1970, strangely enough, Candace, was 1975. And he said, I think, because he, had spoken to me, but he said, I think this is what you're looking for. And he gives me a copy of the OAHSPE. And I start reading it, and I say, oh my goodness, And I never really pictured the Creator as someone sitting on a throne. I remember going in all respect to people's religion, going into Catholic churches with my friends and being literally repulsed by the statue word. So reading the OAHSPE, and I lived in a town that was predominantly Jewish, and I got more out of visiting my friends who were Jewish when they would go to temple with them. So anyway, basically, it was what I was looking for. And the method of self-development, of not seeking praise, of kind of being able to help people not only physically, but spiritually, learning how to send good thoughts out and all these kind of things, and how much mental power, spiritual mental power it is to help shape the world. And when learning about being able to go in the inner planes and help the angels do their work. One of the statements in OAHSPE that struck me was, behold me, O Jehovah. It's appropriate me, O Jehovah, in spirit, soul, mind, and body, in whatsoever way thou canst. To be able to do the most good for both mortals and angels. The realization that it's not just getting help from the angels, but for those on the lower planes, we can literally, by our example, and also by more metaphysical ways, help others in the spirit world rise up to a higher position. I'm finished.
Thank you very much, Peter. We the statements, I'm thinking that maybe before we go on, we should read these 4, and then you can pick any of the ones that you feel you want to respond to specifically or just in general. Because I want to give everybody a chance to speak, and we only got like a half an hour or so. Candace, if you don't mind, can you read all items 2 through 6, and then people have a sense of how to move from here. Read 2 through 6.
All right, I'm happy to do that. I'm being set up here. Let's see. In your view, what are some examples of good works that genuinely contribute to the resurrection, upliftment of yourself and others? Do you believe that third resurrection Jehovah's angels would agree with you? Also, please share examples from your own life or from situations you have observed. 3, imagine that highly developed third resurrection angels were quietly working alongside you in your daily life. What attitudes, decisions, and actions do you think they would encourage you to strengthen or to do? Conversely, what habits or attachments might they lovingly encourage you to release? 4, essays suggest that spiritual grades are measured not by beliefs, titles, or organizations, but by the condition of one's character, their ethical or spiritual relationship to the Creator, and service to others. Now, might this understanding influence the way we treat family members, co-workers, strangers, vulnerable children, or even those with whom we disagree? After studying these essays, what is one practical change you intend to make in your own life over the next month to better align your consciousness, character, and conduct with the Creator's light and the principle of mutual upliftment? And finally, 6, if you had the opportunity to participate in a faithless project or mission of your choice, how would good works be expressed through your involvement? Describe the project you would choose, the gifts or talents you would contribute, and how your efforts would help uplift individuals, the community, nature, or the Creator's kingdom. There are no right or wrong answers. The purpose of these questions is to encourage honest self-examination, respectful dialogue, and mutual learning as we strive together towards higher spiritual grades through lives of authentic good works. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, we're going to pick up, Celestial on our next, but I just felt that we needed to have, just read it through, and if you want to be refreshed, just let me know. So, Celestial, you're up. Or John.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to get it unmuted. I would say that, I guess initially, as someone who was raised with parents who read OAHSPE, I don't think I ever really gave spiritual grade a thought. Like, that's never really been on my radar. I mean, I knew it was there, I knew people talked about it, but I never really delved into it. And I thought it was interesting how you were aligning spiritual grade and the tetracts. And I thought a lot of that was really compelling, because I've seen that like manifest within faithless groups. Where you get an ego that gets too big and then it causes destruction. And a good works, I think, have always been on my radar. The idea of doing good works and being of service. And I think that because we're still, members of the greater society of the world. You know, we're not isolated faithists. So there is this thing that we need to keep in mind that as far as gender goes, that women have a tendency to be taught that they have to be like that all the time, to give, to, you know, to be selfless. And within spiritual work, I think that there's an inclination for women to not take enough credit and to not, what do you call, receive the
Validation.
it's more difficult for women to like speak up and receive the gratitude of others because of our cultural upbringing. And well, that's not this idea is not necessarily always gender specific. There is a tendency for that to happen. And I think there is, you know, some gender biases within OAHSPE that, you know, we just all need to remember. Yeah, thank you. I don't think, Joan, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure how to put it all together.
Well, we can come back to you if you want to think about it. Okay.
No,
No?
I don't
Okay.
think there's time.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think I have no this that when we hadn't been here very long, there was an earthquake. We talk about earthquakes. We've had earthquakes here today. A young woman lost her home, and Joy invited her to come here for a short time and move on when she could find how she wanted to go on at that point. And Joy's still working with her, but the young woman has made a lot of progress in dealing with people and making her own decisions.
I mean, the thing is that you can't give so much of yourself that there's nothing of you left.
That's right.
You know, you have to find that balance, or you're, you know, it's the opposite of falling into the ego type traps. You know, it's a different kind of ego manifestation or something. And so it's a balance. It's a balance. Is that all you wanted to say?
What I wanted to say. So I don't have anything further to say.
Okay.
It's just that sometimes opportunity comes to us to help someone, and we don't even recognize how much we can help them and how long it might take. But still we need to be open, and I guess that's enough.
Yeah,
Enough said.
thank you.
I would like to add to that.
oh, wait, Peter.
Oh,
Hold on,
sorry.
Peter. You gotta hold on. We gotta give everybody a chance to talk. We're getting close to 10 o'clock. Okay, Yakwa, you're next, then Starship, then Michael. We get to unmute Yakwa.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think point 6 was, all the points are pretty good, but point 6 seemed to jump out at me. If you had the opportunity to participate in the Faithist project or mission of your choice, how would good works be expressed through your involvement? Describe the project you would choose, the gifts or talents you would contribute, and how your efforts would help uplift individuals in the community nature of the Creator's Kingdom. So that seemed to jump out at me. And since I've been in the OAHSPE, I seem to resonate the most with doing battle with myself. I seem to like to take on myself, meaning I like to try to get myself involved in doing things that might seem, I don't know how to put this. I like outreach. I believe the Creator can say it best. I believe that the angels are real and that they can influence you, and that the light, the OAHSPE, it opens a door like it has for me. So I love to express myself, and I have a lot of secret ministries. I like doing it in secret. I like fighting the need for acknowledgement and uh, uh, um, um, whatever the word is for praise. And I love doing, I love the way the Creator calls you to do things without seeking any acknowledgement or praise. Or for some reason, I really like that. I think there's real growth in that. That's just my opinion. So that's how I would express myself in answer to point 6 here. All the points are good. I could say something about all of them, but point 6 really jumped out. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I love outreach. I love outreach, and I like to spend my time thinking about how I can do it. So that's it.
Okay, thank you much. Now we're going to move to at the request of Sasha, we go to Michael. Don't forget to unmute, Michael. Okay, Michael may have stepped away. Going once. Okay, we can come back to Michael. Let's go to Jane.
Okay, well, I think there's a few of these that, but I think number 2 is mostly the angle I would take. But what I find, like examples of good works that genuinely contribute to the resurrection, upliftment of yourself and others. So it's like, well, how I feel that my main leading is in meeting so many different people, just on the way, like in my building, just all the way to the park and the community center, and just spending a lot of time really being in the park and the lobby of the community center and so on, and just being with people and mostly listening. They don't want it. They want, it's like, I don't have to preach to them, but I can sort of speak on what they're talking about and their angle of things, and just, it's just more in the tone of my voice and stuff, and just be interested. And I really do feel like you get heart to heart with these people, and they're all so very different, with all very different issues, and ways of interacting and everything, personalities, just everything. But it's to be kind of in tune with each one when I'm with one or with two, but usually one at a time is how conversations often happen. So I find it's, I think it's more of an attitude and more of an attitude that's happening in all these conversations than what is actually said. I'm not, I'm kind of just falling into tune with them and being able to sort of support them that way, just be on their path with them for that conversation. And so it's so subtle. And I guess on the other hand, there's a lot of people in the park who misbehave and are high on drugs and everything and really misbehaving enough to get put in jail. I would say often, but or into the ambulance or spend someone else doing it. And when I'm seeing like the possibility of misbehavior coming towards me, it's just I do the discipline thing in a very subtle way, and that is do not give them audience. Do not just I kind of look down. I kind of ignore the negative stuff they're coming out with, and I don't know. I think I'm not gonna. That kind of gives the damper to the bad behavior on their part, but they may not realize that I'm very conscious about where my eyes are looking and if I'm looking down or if I'm just or making eye contact. If someone's really behaving badly, I'm not going to make eye contact. I'm not going to give them the attention. So it's all these very subtle ways, but everybody's so different in coming into people's lives on their platform, on their dock. They're wherever they're parking themselves and whatever conversation they're bringing up, and I'm just joining in with them there. But there's people everywhere I go now. There's such a collection. There's people everywhere I go. I know, and we're saying hi, but all the relationships that continues very gradually, some faster than others, but and some very slowly. But it's all just staying in sort of being friendly and compassionate and all those qualities. So I think I'm practicing the qualities, and I think if people are catching that, I'm hearing feedback from people. Someone today said, "Oh, you're the funniest person I know." That was my next door neighbor. Oh, she's such a shy person to even say that. But anyway, I think that's enough sharing for now. But it's all just very subtle. Is my bottom line there. A lot of it's so subtle.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Jane. Let's go, Michael. Michael's muted.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna be probably all over the place, but I think right now I'm always trying to remember some of the things that are in OAHSPE, specifically how the Creator gave us Himself, and I'm trying to be like that also, where you have to just smile and listen to people. And for me, that's part of the process. It's always just, as Dan was saying, being positive and avoiding the negative and ignoring that and trying to be good and give of yourself. Even for little things like that, a smile and just take the time to listen to people. Also, I find myself I was trying to forget some of the things that I read specifically about the spiritual grade. I just feel more mechanical when you do that, and just try to be sure about the whole thing. Forget about the formulas or the explanations and the methodology. Approach it organically. And I guess, like the philosophy says, just make doing good a constitution within yourself, or it's just there because you're trying to be good, because you're trying to make yourself that way and not necessarily always focus on what you can accomplish and what you cannot accomplish in terms of good work. And I think in the future, I don't want to follow the path that Hockey talked about helping children, because obviously that And the text, that seems to be the highest light. I guess we're not really at that point right now. And I think it's hard too, as a USK member, to do that as a collective whole together when you're, on virtual, using a virtual, or, conference call, that kind of thing. If we're so far away, we can't do it as a collective whole. I guess we can, but it's going to have to figure out ways to do it. But, together, working together to do it, because that seems to be the highest light also that OAHSPE points out. So I guess that's about it. Some of the things that just came to mind as I was reading all this and listening.
Okay, well, if I go last. For me, this has been a journey. I remember not very young and living on Southern Boulevard in the Bronx. Sammy and my god brother, he passed at the age of 8 years old. And he passed in really terrible pain. What happened was that the surgeon didn't do a very good job on his intestines, and so he died of appendicitis. And I bring that up because I asked my mother, what do you call people who help other people? And I was like 99 or so. No, I was a little limited. And she said, well, then psychologists. I said, okay, that's what I want to do when I grow up. So that's what I pursued. And that's what got me through high school. It was a struggle in the Bronx because I studied badly and the teachers had all the slowest classes you could think of. So I was to a teacher discovered, oh, wait a second, you don't belong in these classes. So he took me up in classes and I was so far behind. But it pushed me to go to college. Nobody in my family to college. It pushed me to go to 4 grad schools. But nobody actually did that. All to serve the Creator, or to be in a position to do good for us, in a position to help out the vulnerable. And not just the children, but also the elderly. We often forget about them. I remember when I was working in Job Corps and in Brooklyn, and some of the staff there was concerned how these kids from young adults from hardcore Brooklyn, East New York, which is really a quiet place, Harlem and Bronx, etc. To deal with children who was mentally challenged. And what they fail to realize that the Job Corps students want to be of service. They wanted to, because their life was such shambles. And they want to give to others. And every year when we have Special Olympics on campus, they had outstanding reports and evaluation. And that was very, very inspiring for me. And I believe that given the right set of circumstances, given the right opportunities, given the right education, the right group of people, the right vision, the right discussion, no arguments and yellings, things of that nature. But we could, when the Creator is ready, because it's the Creator's timetable, but we have a sense about the timetable, that we can come together and do something. And like Michael, like Yahweh, number 6 jumped out of him, number 6 definitely jumped out of me. And like Michael was mentioning, to be organic, spiritual good works and spiritual grades is not intention. It's not really something that you do. It's just something, it's like fish swimming in water. It doesn't tend to swim in water. It doesn't. So it just goes smoothly. It just flows like currency, like the water. It just flows. And I think that we are now at a point where we can make a difference. Not necessarily or not only with children who are vulnerable or young or babies, things of that nature. We can work on that. It's just being done all around the world. It's being done. Some of the great, huge models of residential services is really in Africa, where they have so-called intentional communities. It's really intentional. They may have hundreds of kids who are homeless, fatherless, motherless, and they do quite a good job. I tried to get them into my research, but it was too difficult just to get their input. And so I think that given the right set of circumstances, that we can make a difference. Not for us today. It's not about us now. It's about the future generations. We need to lay down the foundation. We have the book. We have faiths who can find for the higher purpose of establishing an infrastructure that can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We need a place to call home. We need a place where we can relate with the Creator, where we can meditate, pray, where we can reflect, we can eat, we can take care of those who grow old, so they're not cooped up in some nursing home and try to eat the food that they have not eaten for the past 50 or 60 years. We can have a place where children can see us. I've seen it happen in Joplin. I've seen thousands of kids come to Joplin. I can see the potential when you are genuine with them. I don't care if they're from the hood or not. We just sit down and rap and discuss things that will blow your mind. But so it's all about authenticity. And when they know that you're real, when they know that you have in your heart, you feel for them, they will reciprocate. When we had Job Corps, we was rated one of the worst in the country. There's 160 Job Corps centers. And by the time that I was finished, we was rated in the top 10. But they had a person who came in where they want to privatize federal services so that these corporations, private corporations, can make the executive component of these private corporations can make a lot of money. But we did that. And they was committed and they got shanked. It was horrible. And that's a lesson for me. It's a lesson of the importance of, I won't say leadership, but I don't like the term, but anchorship. I like what Celeste said, servant leadership. We need an anchor in such a way that can really hold down the lights and be the tuning fork by which we can move forward. I think the time is right. And I want to thank everybody. It's almost 10 o'clock. We will be heading into new territory. We're going to be talking a lot about sacred winds. We're going to be talking a lot about surveys and things of that nature. There's a lot to discuss over these next couple of months. So hold on to your hats because it's going to be quite a journey. When I say quite a journey, quite a journey.
Can I add a couple of things quickly?
Real quickly.
Okay. A project for kids could be offering an essay contest with a cash reward for first, second, and third place. That's what I did in 1979 when I had the safest camp here. And so an essay contest and to just inviting the children that we can run into and tell about. Okay, second thing is I follow a website and they recently asked people to post a problem in the world and a solution. And you can, and I was wanting to post some, but I couldn't read the projects. And they said, oh, you don't have to read the project. We just want to know what problems you think are important to do and what solutions. And so if any of you have some projects like that, you want to contact me and I'll add them to the website. And that's my thoughts. Thank you.
I'm gonna contact you on those things. I'd like to end on time to give people a chance to go about their ways. Can I get somebody who wants to close out, please? And we can always keep the mic open. But let's close out. Who would like to close out in honor of the great spirit and angels who?
I'll close out.
Okay, thank you for that.
Oh, ready? Okay. Oh, great spirit, Father, Mother, Creator, O Jehovah, O great now. We thank you for your life. We thank you for your knowledge. We thank you for the protections you have given us and ongoing. And we know that thou dost these things in your own time. And as you prepared your gods for when they come in cycles, maybe 200 years or more, to have their acts together to come to the earth, so are we also expected, as Glenn said, to help prepare a foundation. And it is a foundation of many pieces. So we thank you and we pray that you continue to give us the light and knowledge that we need, and the unity and harmony may grow so that we may come together more and more in your oneness. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Peter. That being said, this is officially closed, but the mic is open for anybody who wants to continue that conversation.
Au revoir, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yes. Good night.
Good night. Good night, James.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.